Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Books with Meena. I'm Meena and today I'm going to be talking about my favorite books of 2020. So these are books that I read in the year of 2020. All of them were not released in the same year and I have 5 honorable mentions and 5 books that are in my top favorites of the year list. And let's just jump into the video without further ado. So I will start with the honorable mentions. The first one is going to be Holly Bond, who is an author, and my 2 favorite books by her that I read last year are going to be Am I Normal Yet and It Only Happens in the Movies. And both of these are young adult contemporaries that focus on female friendship and feminism. They also focus, Am I Normal Yet focuses more on mental illness, and It Only Happens in the Movies focuses more on rom-coms and the tropes that we see in these movies regarding romance and female characters specifically. The second honorable mention is going to be Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This one is a young adult contemporary about Kath, who is going to college for the first time and all of the changes that come in her life because of it and all of the different adjustments she has to make because of it. This one is a coming of age, cute, contemporary, which also talks a lot about fandom and fandom culture. Number 3 is the Brothers Sinister series by Courtney Milan. This one is a historical romance series and there are 4 main novels and 3 novellas in this, and I really loved all of the books in this series. They are very just, the romances are very sweet, cute, swoony, and these books also do focus on some greater themes and topics like racism and sexism that existed during Victorian era England. My favorite, if I had to pick one, would be The Heiress Effect, which is book number 2, and A Midwinter's Kiss, which is book number 1.5. Number 4 is Lovely War by Julie Berry. This one is World War I historical fiction. It follows the lives of 4 teenagers in World War I and is narrated by Aphrodite and some other Greek gods. Number 5 is Still Life in Tornado by A.S. King. This one is a coming-of-age young adult contemporary about Sarah, who is in art school and she has stopped going to art school, and the whole book is a slow unraveling of why this has happened and just about Sarah's life, her childhood, all of these things. Jumping into my top 5 of the year, number 5 is going to be Like a Love Story by Abdi Nazemian, and this one is a young adult historical fiction that is taking place in the 1989, and this one reads a lot like a contemporary because we are following 3 teenagers during this time period and they're very much like personal lives. So we have an Iranian main character who is a gay closeted guy. We have Art, who is a white guy who is gay and out and open. We have Julie, who is a white plus-sized girl and she loves fashion and designing and stitching clothes. This book was just so heartfelt, emotional, impactful, powerful, all the words that I can give it. It was just so well written and it made me feel so much. The setting of 1989, I really liked this type of setting, even though we have the AIDS crisis going on in America at this point of time, and we get to see the characters kind of dealing with it or just seeing the effects of this crisis around them. And this book obviously talks a lot about identity pertaining to sexuality and race. The writing in the story was so beautiful and emotional. It really made me appreciate the people that have come before us and have, impacted the system and have fought for certain rights for certain groups of people. And, because of them, we have lives that are easier, if not perfect. This book also has a lot of pop culture references of the 80s, and while I did not get most of them, I did really, I was intrigued and interested about these iconic celebrities who were mentioned in the book. Number 4 is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, and this one is adult fiction slash hard-hitting contemporary, and this book was very hard to read because it is about Vanessa, who at the age of 15 got into a relationship with her English teacher in high school, and now that she is 32, some allegations have come up against this teacher by other students, and Vanessa has to look back into her past and reflect on her her days in high school and her 20s and 30s. There are a lot of trigger warnings in this book for graphic depictions of sexual assault, rape, gaslighting, pedophilia, grooming, all of those things. So beware before you go into this book. But this is a very important book, and I thought that the book was just very well written, and the whole story was very nuanced. It never felt forced, or it never felt like the author was trying to shove down some type of message down our throats. And we all have heard about these type of situations where there's an underage person in relationship with an adult, especially with teacher student dynamics being wrong. But I never really questioned why exactly is it wrong, and this book explores the answer to that question. And this book just left me thinking about a lot of things, and it was a very thought-provoking book that I do think that everyone should read if they can stomach some of the more graphic, some of the trigger warnings that I mentioned beforehand. Number three is Persuasion by Jane Austen. This one is a classic. Everyone knows who Jane Austen is, and Persuasion is about Anne Elliot, who is 27. She is a spinster, and she's just okay with being a spinster until Captain Wentworth comes back into her life. He was her previous, almost like they were engaged at some point of time when Anne was 19, and she rejected him because she was influenced by her friend to reject him because he did not have enough money or stature in society. And now that he's back in her life, she's obviously, kind of having these tumultuous feelings. So I am a big fan of Jane Austen. I love her writing style. Her writing style is very witty and clever. I love her satire and the characters she writes, the situations she writes. And Persuasion had all of those things in it in plenty. And on top of those things, this book was also very poetic, romantic, and even somehow atmospheric. And out of all of the three books that I read of Jane Austen's last year, Persuasion was definitely my favorite. And the letter towards the end, if you have read the book, you know what I'm talking about. It was definitely a very beautifully written letter, and I really liked that part of the book. Number two is Saving Francesca by Melina Marchetta. This one is young adult coming of age contemporary about Francesca, who used to go to an all-girls school, and now she has shifted to a co-ed school, which used to be an all-boys school. And because of that, the proportion of girls and boys in the school is quite disproportionate. I think there are like 300 boys and 50 girls, and one would think that this type of a situation is very ideal for like a young teenage girl, but that is not the case in this story because almost all the boys in Francesca's new school are kind of gross and rude. They think that these girls are invading their space and that they should not be in the school. And this book was just so much fun. It was so heartfelt. It definitely made me laugh a lot, but at the same time, it also made me emotional. And this book, on top of these things, does discuss about mental health because Francesca's mom has not left her bed for several days, and the whole family is worried about her. So this book, like any coming of age contemporary, has discussion of family, friendship, identity, and learning more about yourself and thinking about your future, all of these things. But it was written in such, I don't want to say beautiful, but I really connected with this story with Francesca and her friendships with her four friends and even some of the side characters in the book. It was just such a well written book that packed such a big punch in very few pages. Number one is It Sounded Better in My Head by Nina Kenwood, and this one is also young adult coming of age contemporary about Natalie, and this one is very much a slice of life story just about Natalie and just the readers getting to know her as a character. Natalie is 18. She has just passed out from high school and she's waiting for her college results so that she can for her exam results so that she can apply to colleges. Meanwhile, her two best friends are dating each other, so she feels like the third wheel. Her parents are getting divorced and they're acting very normal and chill about it, which Natalie does not understand. So this whole book was again such a delight to read. I reread it like 3 or 4 times throughout the year, and it made me laugh again. It felt like such a raw, relatable, honest story, and the narrative voice, which is obviously Natalie's voice in this story because it is told in first person point of view, felt very distinctive yet relatable and just humorous and funny. and just all of those things. This is such an underrated book. I think more people should read it if you're looking for something fun, but at the same time something with obviously substance to it. So yes, I definitely recommend this book. This one was my top one favorite of 2020. And that is it for this video. Do let me know in the comment section below if you read any of these books, what you thought about them, what were your favorites of 2020. And that's it. Goodbye.